Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Becca, and today we're going to be talking about creating lash content for your social media. And this doesn't necessarily have to be specifically for lash artists. It can also be for people that just do brows, microblading, permanent makeup, hair, things like that. And what you want to do first before anything is determine your audience. So it can kind of be in a way of like, is your content more for educating other similar artists, like other similar lash artists, similar hairstylists? Is it more on educating them and other like networking off of that? Or are you trying to go and gear it more towards potential clients, new people, people that are trying to find your page for services? Because if you are having both, that might be very confusing for either person. And I think it's a lot more confusing for like potential clients, especially if you're trying to gain a clientele and reach a broader audience, but then you're also teaching about like lash supplies, and like the clients don't necessarily need to know that, or they don't care to, or they're not really sure what your page is for, is if you're selling the products or if you're trying to gain clientele. So it's very confusing to have multiple audiences. You definitely can gear it towards that in like the type of content you create, but if you want to just do a specific thing, I would stick to that one. Meaning, like, for my YouTube channel, I have mainly educational lash content specifically for other lash artists, but then my social media, my Instagram, is mainly for clients. So I'm trying to showcase my work. Let's say you can do educational content like telling them about aftercare and how to keep up with their lashes and like little tidbits of information like that, but no one really on YouTube for myself. Like, as I've noticed, people when they're trying to find a service, they'll go on like Instagram or TikTok for specific locations. But when it comes to long form content, for me personally, I like doing more educational content towards other lash artists or other estheticians, cosmetologists out there. And so before you do anything, you have to determine who your audience is. And that kind of will guide you in the direction you need to go in, and specifically find that niche audience, that target audience, and then kind of go in that direction. You can eventually, once you kind of mastered one, you can kind of bring it into the other one, but it's up to you. I would stick with just the one to start and then kind of build off of that and the direction you want to go. I have my notes over here, so if you see me looking over here, but I have a couple different options and different ways you can create lash content for your social media. Like I said, you can switch out lash for permanent makeup or lash for a hairstylist, you know, stuff like that. But I'm generally going to do this for lash artists because I am a lash artist and I want to really get in and help you guys grow your clientele, grow your social media presence, and just be overall more out there in the community that you're trying to reach. The first one is educational content. You can go into things you've learned, knowledge presented during lash courses, etc. Like I said, I am gaining more. Depending on which way you're going, you can do educational content, like things that you've learned from your lash course, towards different other lash artists. Like, I'm making my own content about what I've learned from these lash courses, but also my own personal journey through that. But on the other side, if you're doing this for potential clients, you can maybe go into the reasoning why and kind of help them to understand. Like, one example is when they talk about, like, when you have clients that ask, why do I have to come in for fills every couple weeks? Why can't I just, have it for 4 or 5 weeks and I'm good? The educational side for clients could be like, this is how this lash cycle is, your hair growth, it grows out, it starts to twist and gets all crazy, it weighs down the lashes. You can be more educational with that. Or if you're doing it from a other lash or artist point of view, you totally can go into, let's say if you're a more seasoned or a little bit more advanced lash artist, giving tips and tricks that you've learned from like your own personal things and also from lash courses that you wish you knew when you were younger or like when you started earlier in your career. So you definitely can go either or. Educational wise, that is really nice. You can always go in. A lot of people will do is they'll do like a video, they'll kind of either talk about it, you can do an infographic or a post, you can kind of do something where it's like B-roll, but then you can write it in the caption. So however you want to do this, you also want to make sure that people are seeing it, so posting it on your story, posting it on your feed. If you're making a video, making sure that it's a reel. Like on Instagram, you can just make it a post or a reel. You can make it real, adding hashtags, stuff like that. And you kind of, like with the hashtags, you want to go and gear it towards specific niche groups that you're doing. So like other lash artists or specific areas to gain clients. The next type of social media content you want to include is before and afters. This can be the bare eyes versus a full set. You can go into a fill versus a full set. And then maybe differences in lengths and styles. So this, of course, can be for other lash artists. You can kind of show your own work and what works for you. You can kind of do it in a mapping way of like, oh, this person has downturned eyes. This is what I did. This is the exact mapping, the curl, the length, and you can make it more educational. Or you can do it in a sense of before and afters as for clients. Let's say someone is on your table and is wondering what kind of set to get, and you can kind of use that as a reference. You can also write in the caption just like what they asked for, so you don't necessarily have to go into the mapping. You can go just say this person got a wispy cat eye short set, whatever you want to do. But that is kind of a before and after. I have a lot of people that will ask me what's the difference between like hybrid, volume, and classics, and it's a lot easier when you can show it to someone, and so they're like, oh, I like this, or like, okay, I want to change this, or you know what I mean. So having the before and afters are very beneficial in both regards. Just like I said, keeping your audience in mind and kind of what you're gearing it towards. The next type of lash content you can create is ones with funny audios. So you see those TikTok trends where with the trending audios that you lip sync, ones that you're showing your work, or any CapCut templates. A lot of that can be anything regards to what you think is funny. So a lot of the times people will use like a funny audio clip from like a TV show or a movie or like this trending audio and then use it in your video. And it kind of just depends on your sense of humor and kind of what audience you're going towards. I personally myself like to have any like videos that I find, I'll save them in an album on TikTok or Instagram, and then kind of have that audio and see if that flows with what kind of content I'm creating. You can gear it more towards other lash artists and like your frustrations or your quids about being a lash artist, and then also in the sense of other clients and like what goes on during your service, or you know, kind of like connecting with your audience and your other clients so that you have a chance to show your personality a little more. So kind of going into that, you want to make sure that it kind of lines up with your brand. Sometimes people like to do more vulgar content or more funny content, like sweet content. So everything kind of just depends on what your own personal brand is and what audience you're trying to reach. Another type of lash content posts you can create is things on just like the educational. You can go into retention. A lot of things can be like aftercare for clients, isolation, placement, curling styles for other lash artists. So going into retention tips are really great for if they're struggling with retention, and like you can show up close about like there's no stickies, it's not exactly at the base of the lashes. Going into what do you do to get the retention great for every client. And on the other side, for clients, you can kind of tell them and help them understand why they need to like wash their eyelashes, why they need to come in for fills, why they can't wear makeup, stuff like that. So that really goes into the longevity of your lashes, and that's really the main thing with when it comes to eyelash extensions is you're going to get a full set and you want to keep the people coming in for fills and get that money coming in every 2-3 weeks. So also catering to that side with like other beginner lash artists or like things like that, but I think this is more for other clients that are having issues themselves or they're looking for a new lash artist and they know that you're very knowledgeable, so that'll go into kind of them trusting you and kind of understanding why things happen or why it's this way. So you can kind of be that teacher in that aspect of helping them understand why their lashes aren't lasting or why they last so long. So another type of lash content you can create is do's and don'ts. This goes into application styles, isolation tips, foreign fills versus you. So it's basically going into like what you should do as a lash artist versus not. This can kind of be into for clients, like don't use oil base, do use this, your lash bath. So it kind of like, it just depends on how you're seeing this. So of course, I think this would work great for other lash artists about like why you should do this, don't do that, making sure you're checking for your stickies versus not checking for stickies and why that's important. And a lot of these kind of go into each other and kind of relate to each other. Like I said, a lot of it is like if you're doing educational lash content, you can make sure to, go educational wise, but then going into retention and educational wise into do's and don'ts. So you definitely can kind of see what kind of content you can create. And a lot of people will use just videos and posts and stuff like that and writing everything in the captions, but you can also make posts like infographics on Canva. And Canva is really nice. They have a free version and they have a paid version. I think that the paid version is well worth it, but you totally can do the free one, whatever you want to do. You just get access to more things. So there's just some other apps that are on there and like different fonts and stuff and like different access to everything, and I feel like it's worth it. But when it comes to creating the lash content on like an infographic, it's really nice to kind of have everything on there and then they can kind of screenshot it and save it. If you do have like, let's say you put a post like a highlight on your story and it goes into like lash content and like retention tips, they can screenshot that. I have a lot of people that'll do like your aftercares on there just so you don't have to have a physical card that you give them all the time. They have that, they can screenshot it, they have that information in front of them. But it's totally up to you however you want to do this. I find that having a mix of both is really nice, but you can also just go into doing maybe a picture or video with like a caption, and that's going into that. So you're kind of finding what works for you and what gains that clientele for you. I personally, like I said, I just like doing infographics every now and then just so that they have that and they can refer back to it. The last one that I have is normal photos or videos showing your work. You can go into different styles, mapping, lengths, things like that, and that's great for typically clients because they can see your work and how well you can do a certain eye shape, a different style, different length and everything, and they're like, oh, I want to do that. That's just like when I went into up close content, but you definitely can go and make sure that adding that so that you can show off your work. Your Instagram or your TikTok or wherever is basically your portfolio, and you can show off your work. You can, get other people to see it. You can use it as a reference for your clients and things like that. I also wanted to mention doing up close or mirror photos. So going up close to see like wispiness, seeing how, if you do the mirror, how with your eye open or closed. When you do the mirror pics, it's really nice to kind of see it from another point of view, just instead of in front of them. You can see from above, and then that a lot of people like seeing that content. You can see if you do from above with the mirror right by their eye. You can see it from above, but you can also see a little bit in the front, and you can see the wispiness. You can see if there's any stickies. So it's really nice to have up close ones. It really just shows detail work. This probably is really good for other lash artists so they can get some inspiration or kind of seeing how it's supposed to look up close. Like you don't Like, you don't want it to look clumpy or chunky or like, you know, different lengths that are like too crazy, you know, so having that is definitely really nice. And then going into, like I said before, what mapping it is, what kind of style this was, and kind of showing your clients, but also other lash artists, kind of what you're working with. Alongside all of those different lash content types, I did want to go into 2 other tips when it comes to creating lash content. The one is making sure to create captions that explain what mapping you use, going into detail elaborating what you mean, or where they can find you and how to book. So this, like I said with the lash con, I kind of like touched on this a little bit, but when it comes to captions, just explaining what you're doing. And like I said, this can either go in a client direction or another lash artist direction, but especially for clients, they want to know what mapping you used, not necessarily with the numbers, but like the kind of style it is. Be like, okay, this is a cat eye hybrid. Now they know what to ask for when they come see you. And then also detailing details or elaborating on what you mean. You can kind of write like maybe something really short, couple words on the post, but then when they click on the caption, they can see more information and what you're kind of explaining. And then also where they can find you and how to book. Of course, everyone goes to the link in your bio, but you can also just let them know, hey, it'll say like DM me to book or call this number to book, link in my bio, so whatever works for you. But kind of going deeper into the caption and explaining it a little more in regards to whatever your direction is and where you're going. And number 2, making sure to always use specific hashtags and your location. So using your location plus lash artists, lash tech, lash extensions, etc. So when I lived in Naperville and I did this, I did Naperville lash artist, Naperville lash tech, Naperville lash extensions, Naperville esthetician. And I actually got a lot of people from just doing that. So having your specific location, you can also do surrounding locations. So I lived in Naperville, so I always put Bolingbrook, Aurora, Oakbrook, Warrenville, and then making sure to put that specific name, but also adding what kind of artist you are. So like if you're like a hairstylist, you're Naperville hairstylist or Naperville esthetician, you know. So having that and going and making sure that it's specific to location wise, especially if you are trying to find clients. But you can also do regular hashtags if you're trying to be more of a generalist towards like other lash artists. So you can do everything above like lash artist, retention tips, lash artist, cat eye, lash extensions. You can do like different things, but finding something that works for you. And what you can do too is even before you're putting this into your actual lash content and putting it in the hashtags, you can actually look it up yourself. Look up what are some good hashtags like on Instagram, and look up if you have there's a lot of posts per kind of like what you're looking for. So if you're looking up like Naperville lash extensions, you're like, okay, this has a good amount. But if you're looking up something that is very niche, very specific, then maybe it won't get the reach that you want. Like if you're saying Naperville, Illinois, lash artist, cat eye, winged out, like if you're going way in there and it says fewer than 100 posts, you may not get as many people, but you totally can just do specific, you can just put retention tips or cat eye lash extensions. You can just do that too and reach a broader audience where it'll go into the millions, but it'll definitely get you more out there to specifically like other lash artists or suppliers and things like that if you are wanting to go more in that direction. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a lot of information, but I promise you, if you invest in more of your social media presence on your particular topic, like I said, this can be for lash artists, it can be for microblading artists, it can be for anyone in the field, the industry, whatever you want to do. I really think that adding and putting effort into your social media will definitely help get you the audience that you're trying to reach, the clientele you're trying to reach, because that's how we find people nowadays, is through social media and finding their work and finding what kind of information they can provide for me. And it's just a simple follow or a simple like, a simple, things like that. And it can really get you and build your business up if you have a great social media presence. And then also making sure, I did go into this I think in another video, but making sure you're interacting with everyone, you are commenting on everything, and making sure you're just active in general on social media with creating and posting content. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please watch out for my new lash content that I'm going to be doing, more curating, more educational content. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.